And now, for a session presented by Riyadh Air, please welcome Ian Bradley, VP Global Communications for Riyadh Air, in conversation with Skift Airlines editor Gordon Smith.
Ian, welcome to Megatrends.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you. 2025 is a big year for the travel industry. It's a huge year for Riyadh Air. This is when you turn the PowerPoint presentation into planes, into passengers, maybe even a bit of profit. We'll get into a bit of detail in a minute, but let's bring it right back to basics. People already know Saudi Arabia's got a pretty major international carrier. What's the business case for another major international airline?
Yeah, so our main mandate has been come from His Royal Highness MBS, and that is to provide greater connectivity for Riyadh to the world. For a G20 capital country, it's extremely poorly connected. It's very difficult to fly to Asia, for example, many places in the US, many places in Europe. You just do not have that direct connectivity. And it's a city of approximately 7-8 million people, so it's a huge city, and it lacks that connectivity. Now, there's obviously a well-known airline, Saudia, already in place. Has an incredibly lengthy history, almost 80 years, and it's a very strong brand in the region as well.
So that's more Jeddah focused, is that right?
Yes, exactly. So Jeddah is the home for Saudia, but they have a strong presence in Riyadh as well. So over time, we will grow quite dramatically in Riyadh as they will grow dramatically in Jeddah. So we will take over some of those routes, and they will still have a presence, but it'll decrease. But people don't realize the size and the scale of Saudi Arabia as well. It's almost 30 domestic airports. It has
30.
30, yeah. And people don't expect that. You think, well, there's 3 or 4 is what people might think. So there's a lot of traffic within the kingdom as well, with all that domestic traffic. And people will be surprised, and so I'm not here to do the PR for Saudi, but people might be surprised to learn that they are the second largest airline in the region, the Middle Eastern region, by seats, just behind Emirates. They're ahead of Qatar, Etihad, etc. A lot of that's down to their domestic connectivity as well. And 2 of the busiest routes in the world by OAG stats, one within domestic and international, Jeddah to Riyadh is in the top 10 in the world. I think it's about 8. And Riyadh to Dubai is one of the top 10 in the world as well. So
maybe giving some clues of under capacity in Riyadh.
Exactly. A lot of leakage, certainly into Dubai and into Doha as well for international travel. So there's a great opportunity for us there. And the scale of the country, considering the size, the distance between London and Milan is the same as Jeddah to Riyadh. Okay. So it's a large geographical size. And if you think of the amount of carriers you would have between London and Milan, if you were to look at Air France, KLM, BA, maybe Iberia, ITA, Swiss, etc. So there's quite a lot there, different population size. But that's really the reason what the mandate has been for us, to provide that connectivity to the world, getting people into Saudi Arabia, into Riyadh, the Vision 2030 and the 150 million visitors they want by that time, and allowing people to travel a lot more out of Saudi as well, giving them opportunities to travel around the world.
Interesting you mentioned population there, an astounding stat on Saudi Arabia. The average age of a Saudi national is just 29.
Correct.
Are there any opportunities there where you can sort of leverage that as a USP?
Exactly. It's incredibly young, and that's why we want to be a digitally native airline. I know you'll probably come on to that. Everyone lives on their mobile phone. It's an average of, I think, 8 hours a day people spend on their phones, not even on their laptops or iPads or their desktops. So everyone lives there on their phone. Incredibly youthful population with a huge propensity to travel. It's a country that's opened dramatically in the last number of years. And people are very thirsty to travel, especially the younger population. The vast majority of the youth in Saudi study overseas. It's a little bit different to some of the other countries in the region. So many of them, you could have up to 150,000 students in the US at any one time, Saudi students who are studying there. So they come back with a very world view, which is great, and they have a thirst for travel, and that's why we're there to help them.
I'm sure some of our audience has seen this already. One of our Skift Megatrends this year is the Middle East's profound cultural shift. I know you're based in the Kingdom, but you've spent more time more broadly in the Middle East in recent years. For those that haven't been to the region recently, what does the shift feel like on the ground when you're sort of living it, breathing it day to day?
Yeah, I mean, I've lived in the region for 8 years, Dubai for 2.5 years, Qatar for 4.5 years, now 1.5 in Riyadh. And I would say probably the vast majority of people here probably haven't been to Saudi Arabia, and I would say definitely go and have a look. It is nothing like you would expect it to be. It is incredibly youthful, as you said, incredibly dynamic. The warmth and hospitality of the people was a major eye-opener for me. They are incredibly hardworking as well. You know, I've got 4 Saudis on my team, and every one of them is in, you know, early in the morning and very late by the time they leave. That's just their work ethic. You know, they're very keen to contribute to the success of the country, and that's really drilled into every single one. That we're all part of this amazing project at Riyadh Air to help drive the country forward to the next level, and we're excited to be part of that.
One of the buzzwords that's been associated with Riyadh Air is hyper-personalization. I had to practice that before I came on. I know your CEO, Tony Douglas, is a big fan of this. What does it actually mean in practice? Because it's one of those words that can get bandied about and not really mean very much.
Yeah, so what we're doing is we are moving away from essentially the legacy systems that a lot of airlines and, you know, hotels to a large degree are familiar with. A lot of these systems were designed 50, 60 years ago, and yes, they've evolved over time and been brought up to date. We are moving away from those legacy systems into the new world. We said we could be the last airline to be on those legacy systems, or could be the first to be in that new world. And we're going to be quite altruistic with this. We want everyone to kind of learn from our experiences to how the entire industry can move on to these new platforms. You know, because we don't have this legacy to, you know, it's very difficult for an airline or a hotel or a hospitality partner to change their legacy systems into something new.
Not least the software and the IT, perhaps.
Exactly, it's massively complex. And, you know, we can go out and select all the best suppliers that we can find out there to meet all of the different needs we have. So when it comes to hyper-personalization, you've got a very youthful population, as we said. They are thirsty for demand, but people coming in as well, we want to be able to take out your phone and you can say, okay, I've got 3 days, I want to go to whatever it might be, London or Dubai, whatever it is. And, you know, class of travel is less important to me than hotel. Find me a hotel, find me good restaurants, find me good ideas, and you can speak that into the phone and it will come back to you. Now, the software you're using, we say it's a bit like the kind of the iPhone. When the iPhone actually launched, it didn't have a camera and it didn't have an app store.
Yep.
So we will launch like a 1.0, and that will evolve dramatically over time and get better and better and better as AI improves as well. But it will be very, very personalized.
So this is traditional airline ancillary spending, but ramped up in a way that maybe we haven't seen elsewhere.
Exactly, and you look what the value is. You look at something like Booking.com, which is what, 160 billion market cap, but it's all about content. And then you look at someone like Delta, the most valuable airline in the world, is just what, 40 billion? So you can see what the value is. The value is in content. That's what people are interested in. So that's what we will be doing, providing as much content. But we call ourselves, you know, a digital company that enables travel, not to be confused with a traditional airline, is how we describe ourselves.
Another one of our mega trends, one that I authored, was about first-class flying. So Qatar Airways, Air France, British Airways, Singapore Airlines, Cathay, they are all investing very, very heavily, as we speak, in new first-class cabins.
Yep.
Riyadh Air is taking a different approach. You won't have first class. What's your thinking there?
Well, one of the main reasons there is just the level of investment that you need for a first-class product, you know, in terms of the physical investment to design it, and, you know, if you want to personalize, that's incredibly expensive. And then it's, of course, the real estate it takes up on the plane itself. And trying to get that return on investment is incredibly challenging. You know, the amount of people who physically pay for first-class travel is not that high.
Even coming out of Saudi?
Pardon? Even out of Saudi, yeah, exactly. And everyone has this perception of Saudi Arabia, everyone drives around in a Rolls Royce. It's certainly not the case. It's a very normal country, like a lot of European countries. And yes, the population is 35 million, but because the average age is 29, they're not people who will be traveling in first class. You know, if they will aspire to business class, we will have a really, really good business class product, and that will be, we think, more than sufficient for the demand that will be there.
In keeping with product, what about premium economy? Is that an area that interests you?
Yes. So premium economy is something we are going to put in place. You know, I've seen the pictures of what the premium economy looks like. It's going to be incredible. It's very, very nice, very tastefully done. And there'll be a lot of really nice kind of soft product enhancements as well around that, which you may not expect from a premium economy. So we're going to really elevate that experience, because that is a real sweet spot. Premium economy. You know, everyone kind of upsells from economy to premium, but maybe they don't want to go on, especially as leisure travels on to business. So we see that as a really important sweet spot for us, and I think that'll play quite nicely.
We've considered the inside of the aircraft. Let's talk about the aircraft themselves. You've got orders already with Boeing for wide body, Airbus for narrow body. Late last year, you teased a third order, maybe on the cards, potentially for very large aircraft, around 300-seater. Give us a status update on where you are there.
Yeah, so we're just about to go to the market with that, with our extra wide body RFP. You know, we haven't set a number of how many we will want, but that will be, you know, there's really two aircraft that are options for us, the Boeing 777X or the A350-1000. So that RFP is about to start, and we will be conducting that over the next couple of months, and we will have an answer by probably Q2. But at the moment, as you said, we've got 72 wide bodies with Boeing, 787-9s on order. We got 60 A321s on order as well. And today, our very first aircraft rolled out of a paint shop in Abu Dhabi today, which is one we have leased. That will be our technical spare. So we need two aircraft to get up and running later this year. There'll be two brand new aircraft coming from Boeing. This third one is, even though we've got it now, we'll say that's our third one to allow us as a technical spare, which will allow us to get up and running quick. So that just came out today, and it's in our lovely new white livery.
Superb. You've worked in the airline sector for more than 2 decades. I'm sure I don't need to remind you of that fact.
Yes, a little bit longer maybe.
As a brand new airline, you're not burdened by those legacy systems that we discussed, but there are pros and cons. You've got a very, very experienced team, but at the end of the day, you are a startup airline. What are the pros and cons that you're seeing day to day?
Well, a lot of us have joined. This is my 5th airline that I've worked for, and a lot of us have joined because we've never done a startup before, and especially an incredibly well capitalized startup as well. We know it's going to be success. It's not a case of it might be, will it be? It will. So that's what's been attractive to us, to be able to start that from scratch. And we have hundreds, if not thousands, of milestones that we need to achieve and tick off, everything from uniforms to planes to procurement systems to people to anything you can, loyalty, the works. And that's a real challenge. And that's what makes it interesting to all of us who have never done this before. And the challenges are hitting all of those deadlines. You've got to start. You've got to get everything ready. There's no excuses. You cannot be setting up a global aspirational carrier, not hitting your start dates, or not hitting the quality standards, not hitting the product that people are expecting, the connectivity, the destinations. You have got to do that. There's high expectations. Saudi Arabia doesn't do things by half. So we've got to meet those expectations and not let anyone down.
You mentioned loyalty there, Ian. It's been a hot topic, particularly here in the UK, in the past couple of weeks. Can you give us any clues as to how Riyadh Air is going to be approaching the loyalty system?
Yeah, so once again, we're looking, like all of our other systems, we're not encumbered by legacy systems, so we're looking at doing things a little bit different. I'll say a lot of kind of watch this space, but it will be really interesting what we're trying to do. And once again, it'll be a version 1.0, 1.2, and 2, and et cetera, and it'll move on over the years. And it will be, I think, very different to what you will see out there at the moment. That's what we're trying to do. But from what I've seen so far internally, I think people will not be disappointed about what we're trying to do.
Superb. We watch 2025 very, very closely. It will be an interesting year for you. Ian, thanks for joining us.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.